So we had kind of that compass. So our year is done. We try getting pregnant. First 3 months, nothing is happening. First 6 months, no pregnancy.
Okay.
Hey, what's going on? All right. So now, now I'm getting this real scare of, I'm an African man, but what's happening? I cannot be. What is this thing? Infertility? No, it can't happen. But it's playing at the back of my head.
So now the baby is here. We have just gotten this news that we were not ready for.
Yeah.
We didn't expect this. How will you take that? How will it?
Oh my goodness. I recall that day like it was yesterday. There's no sun here. People move slower here. You'll have developmental challenges forever. In fact, she'll probably never amount to much. That's what we're getting from the doctor.
Oh, no.
So shortly to say, I was crushed. I was angry. And I was angry at God. I was so angry, man. I remember that time, and I don't like walking that path again. Because that time I felt so helpless. Because I had no clue how to help. This is a man. So there are things that show up, but if you have a clue on what to do, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Lakini saa ile how you are helpless, yani you feel like, man, it kills you. So I was very mad. I was very angry. I was very confused. I was crushed inside. And I remember driving my wife and the child from hospital when we were discharged. And I couldn't, I was wondering whether it's a windscreen that is misty or it's my eyes, because I couldn't see where I was driving because it was so hard. I'm trying to be the man and I'm trying to stand and be strong for my wife. But inside I'm crushed. I'm gone, And the thing that parents need to do, parents with special needs, with children with special needs, is to realize that the longer you stay stuck in that place, it does not just stop your life moving forward. Guess who else's life is stopped? Your child's life.
True.
Whatever you allow is what will get to the child. So the more you get stuck, it means that you will not be allowing anything because you've not started the journey of supporting the child.
Yeah.
So the child also gets stuck. So if you choose, you'll get stuck for 5 years or 4 years or 10 years. You're killing 10 years of that child.
Yeah.
So that's a very weighty thing.
Yeah. Hello, good people. Susie Uledadem, living positively regardless. Doesn't matter the point at which you are in life, but we rock positivity all the way. I'm so happy to be here and I'm grateful to God for this wonderful day that He has made for us to be here, for you to be there watching my video, and for me to be seated here and to be speaking to you. It's such a privilege. And I love Jesus Christ. I am reconciled to Him. I have a good relationship with Him, and I am proud of that. If you don't know Christ and you have no fellowship with Him as yet, probably you need to have Him. So maybe you can just try and maybe see if you will be able to enjoy what I'm enjoying today. And so guys, I want first of all to thank all of you for watching my videos and for keeping it at Susie Yule Diadem. Thank you so much to our guests who have been embracing our studios and giving us hope for life, giving us their real life stories to inspire us, and also for those who have been training us in mental issues, training us on how to empower ourselves, training us issues in fertility. Man, we have really rant a lot. And today is not a different day. It is another day to continue with our learning sessions. And today I am happy because we have a combination. We are listening to a real life story rather, sorry, I said that ours are not stories, zetu ni real life experiences. So we are listening to a real life experience, and on top of that, we are learning issues of life. So just keep it here at Suzy Ledadem, and you'll get to know what it is about today's show. But before then, have you subscribed to our channel? Why? So you just subscribe. Subscribing is free, but it's a way of you showing support to us and giving us your love. So kindly do so if you haven't. And if you have, thank you so much for subscribing. As you can see, guys, we are still growing. And yes, this is just the beginning. We are going far. I will not take too much of your time before I introduce to you the guest of the day. Hi.
Hi,
How are you, David?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good to have you.
Nice, thank you for having me over.
Me, I'm good.
Yeah.
And karibu sana ati Suzy Yule Diadem.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Asante.
Here we just rock positive energy only.
I like that. I like those spaces. Yeah, I can feel that. I can already feel the vibe.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
Nice. So let me give you an opportunity to look at the camera, introduce yourself to our people.
Asante sana. All right. So my government names are David Wawerombao. Most of my friends also know me as Baba Tumaini. That's my first daughter. So as I've already said about the daughter, so I'm a father, married to one wife. I have two daughters. The first one is 15 years old, called Tumaini, followed by the second one who is 8 years old, called Imani. You can clearly see these names are carefully and deliberately made to be so, because I try to live in the context that we are in, and the context is being Africa. So I'm an African man trying to do everything in the context that God has set me in. So the first thing that I will say that about me, that is really important, that I think stands out about everything else, is that I'm a born-again Christian, practicing Christian, Bible-believing Christian. That's the biggest thing about me that I need you to know. Other things that take up my time, by virtue of being a Christian, then we are called out also to do. I mean, I don't think we have vocation and work, because I think then the calling is also supposed to be even at your place of work. So I say my vocation and my calling is in the place of standing in and being a voice to the voiceless, to the ones who are downtrodden, to the least of the least in society. So this is what I've felt that God has been calling me to do, just to be that voice and to come and speak up. And just to be specific, then the corner that I feel led to is the disability space. So what I do is I say I'm an inclusion, disability inclusion advocate. All right. So that's what I do. The other things I've done with my life, for a big chunk of my life, I've been an entrepreneur. I've been in the tourism and transport space for a very long while. I still do that, but that's now secondary. That's in the background. So the four thing that has come to fore now is being an advocate, and my calling came up, and that's what I've been now actually taking up to do. So I think in the context of this discussion, I think those are enough things to know. Other things tunaweza jua tukipatana outside, right?
Wow, beautiful.
Yes,
You know what I like about you, David, is the fact that you even know the age of your firstborn daughter. Many men.
Oh my goodness.
And I don't want men to beat me, because maybe it's them that I have interacted with, but I have realized many men. And maybe I would even test you. Which class is you?
My youngest daughter, who is 8, that is Imani, is in grade 2.
Okay.
For Tumaini, as I was doing introduction, I deliberately had not said, I wanted to say, but I can say now, that she has a condition known as Down syndrome.
Okay.
So Down syndrome is one of the most common causes of intellectual disability. When you find yourself in a space of intellectual disability with your child, then that clearly is very loudly just telling you that she's in a very different lane. So she's not in the typical normal lane that everyone else is walking on intellectually.
Yeah.
So even when I come to say about grades, I'm not in that lane with Tumaini, you know, so she doesn't use that. She has her own lane at her own speed, doing her own things. So So yeah, she has a lot of challenges if you compared her to the typical child. But again, that's our lane. So to stick to kwa lane yetu, and we do our thing. And I say she's good where she's supposed to be. I feel she's really, really come from very far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I know we'll get into that. But the reason I asked that, I was still testing the African man.
I know. Today I'm wearing the helmet for men, and I'm ready to represent. I won't let them down.
Men, you're well represented. It is so beautiful to see a man who is so involved in the family matters and not just providing, because they say, as long as I've paid the school fees, I've provided the food and all that. But it is beautiful to know that men are getting involved in this. And I'm happy to have you here. Let me thank you again for creating your good time to be with us here and to talk to us. And so, guys, at this point, I want to introduce to you the topic of the day, why we are here, and we want to talk. Already, David has already touched on the things that he's doing in his life, and I'm glad that he has said he is a voice to the people who are voiceless, who looks like they're voiceless in the society. Kinda, we relate with David because I am here, and you know that I advocate for people and families going through infertility. And so today we are talking about people going different disabilities, or rather different challenges in life, and people who are able differently. And so today we want to talk, and specifically, I know we'll touch on different things, but we want to talk about Down syndrome disorder and how it affects people and how it has maybe impacted, I don't want to say affected David's life, but how it has impacted differently in David's life. And so that is it about today's topic. But even before we go deep into it, let us first of all know David. How is David? How did David grow up before he became a dad? Who was he?
Yeah, that's nice. I like that you start there. Because most people, let me say about parents, not even just about parents in the space that I'm in, because I already alluded to, I'm a parent to a child with special needs. So not just that department, but all parents very easily forget who they are. No, I told you most of the people know me as Baba Tumaini.
Yeah.
And when that thing is thrown your way, you forget there was a David.
Yeah.
And I like that you're asking about that David. So, because not many people ask me about that one, and I'm excited because I'm always wondering, hey, this David, people don't see me anymore, you know?
Where did David disappear to?
Yeah, so a few decades ago, I was born in this lovely city called Nairobi. Grew up in Eastlands. Went to school, primary in Eastlands. Secondary, I moved to a different county. I was in Nakuru, in Gilgil. Did my high school there. After high school, I volunteered into ministry, Christian ministry. I went in for, there's a camp ministry called Word of Life, which I volunteered in, helping to do counseling and just being the staff around there. But at the same time, I took a Bible school course while I was there. I finished there. By that time, it was time for me to go higher into my education. I chose to join the Polytechnic, where I did my course there. I did electrical and electronics there. But I like feeding off that story, because whatever I did there, then I feel like ended there. Because it was one of those things, unajua tu, when you're growing up, everyone is moving and switching gears, and everyone is going to campus to the next level of college, someone is doing something, and then it's just the typical line that we're all following like robots, you know. One stage, the next one is waiting, time is ticking, you know, hakuna stage ya kungojea ati I want to think, you know. So I got into it, I did what I did, but again, it's not really what I wanted to do. You know, it's just where it's like, now I'm in town and people are rushing. Nikajipata nimeingia kwa matatu ya kwenda Buruburu, then I just went. So I did it. So that's not my passion. So I finished that. I did that. And then I was involved a lot in ministry at a very young age, when I was in my early 20s. I did a lot of ministry with my friends. So I joined a singing group, which we used to travel around. Back in my home church in Buruburu Baptist Church, I volunteered there in the youth ministry too. We did a lot of traveling around. we even then soon after that I realized that I also enjoy music and choreography. And it was back now you're making me give away my years. It was back in the 90s. So music and just the music stage was not the same as it is today. Okay. It was very, what can I say? It was very spiritual and very put together and structured. And there was nothing like today. People are singing and then you have guys dancing and you have all this setup going on. I mean, hizo zote ni za nini? Binguni tunataka tu Yesu. What are all these other things? So in my early years, I also realized that I love choreography and dancing. Okay. So I think I was one of the leaders of the only two gospel, we used to call them dancing troops back then. Okay. So what we will do is we will then just perform specifically for gospel singers. We'll specifically just be there then when they're doing their video, but then even singing, what was video? Why do you need a video for a song? Okay. So not even many of them understanding, what do you mean you guys can dance when I'm singing? So the few who had already seen into the future embraced us, and we ventured and dared to go into the churches and do ministry in a new way that the society had not seen it. So shortly to summarize is to say that we've been kicked out of a few churches because we took in a new outfit that was not yet embraced in churches. So here we are young, we're trying to dance, we're trying to dress high, just to look cool and everything.
What were you dressing in?
No, just jeans. Imagine, just jeans and nice.
Rugged jeans.
Yes. Yeah, but rugged jeans is better than today.
And the belt is below the...
No. Back in the 90s, there was nothing like sagging, by the way. Okay. There was no sagging. But you see, in church, there was a certain way that you're expected to present yourself and look like. Yeah. So we go in there, we have t-shirts and we just have sneakers and we are dancing, and we're not even, it's the 90s, so even what moves do we really have? Just kawaida basic moves, nothing compared to what I see today. But even that was a big shocker for the church back then. So we were kicked out of a few churches. We had a dance troupe, and then we had even the singers themselves, because now we were teaming up with the same in the same mindset and age group of singers. So here they're also trying to venture out and do hip hop and do reggae and do, just new genres of music, which were not yet in church. Yeah. So this was something very, very new for church. So, we are young, we have nothing to lose. You just kick us out, we'll just look for the next church. So we've been kicked out, kicked around. But now the good thing, we never gave up. Okay. So we still did what we did. So those were my early years. Finished my early years doing that, and then found myself now moving out of home. I grew up in Buruburu. Like I told you, I was in Islands. I need to move out because now I'm feeling this space is becoming small for me. My dad and his rules, my parents and their rules, and now I'm also wanting to have my own rules, so I must admit that it was not like a very nice send-off. My age mates back then, I think only like 1 or 2% were sent off nicely. If we were just to be honest, it will be, you'll just walk out in rebellion, or you just have had it, and you just go and figure things out. Or you go, the ones who ended up in campus, in the university, then they had a way out, because then they wouldn't spend most of their time at home. Yeah. But now I was just around. What I was doing, I was staying there. So I moved out with a couple of my friends. We ganged up like 5 of us, rented a full house, maisonette, discovered, we can split this rent to like nothing. So if we have 4 rooms and we are 4 guys and we have an SQ, the 5th guy can live there. And life was super, man. Okay. But thank God that my upbringing was in church, So then the freedom there also was not just freedom. And now in hindsight, I look back and I say, even freedom needs boundaries, and it needs a good foundation. Okay. Because then that was a very easy place then to get lost. So that was the journey to start off in my entrepreneurial journey, which I shared.
Okay.
So I started out, started out in tourism and transport business, which have nothing to do with what I said I went to do at the Polytechnic. In fact, at the Polytechnic, I even my brain just deletes. Even now is when I'm remembering. Okay, oh, that course, there's a place I worked for like a year with it.
Okay.
Because after I finished it, I got engaged somewhere along that line. So, and by the time I was about to just do a year of employment, I could clearly tell this is not who I want to be.
Okay.
You know, I could look at people around me. I look at the older people in the place, in the organization, and I would clearly see this is not me. And I think from very early on, I have just been this type of person who I just have my own lane, and I, lack of better words, I do not respect and really stick to what is typical.
Okay.
So even that line of now you have to follow one, I'd already seen I've wasted a few years doing this course that I had no inclination for. So I will just sit until I do something I know I want to do, I care less for titles. So I just want to do what I want to do. And I want to increase capacity in the areas that I want to follow. All right.
Okay.
So I had a passion for choreography. That one grew well. Now I'm in business. I'm stepping into business, and I found, I like this space. I'm loving. I'm feeling like I'm connecting. This is kind of like my space. So shortly to say, that was the beginning of my transport. I had a small transport company, which I kicked off. Then ventured together with tourism. So I did that for a very long time. For very long. I think for close to like 20, 25 years. I think that's what I've been running.
Okay.
So it grew, but again, didn't grow very big, but I enjoyed my stay there. And at the time that I was kicking off into business is the time that we were blessed with our first child, Tumaini.
Okay.
Yes. So I will tie that in, because then when Tumaini came in, I'll break this down a bit later on, but when she came in, when you get a child with special needs, it affects your entire life. It touches every aspect and every angle of your life. So it was a big challenge for me to even take off with a business that was still very young. So it didn't take off as much as I wanted it to, and I also couldn't grow it to the proportions I thought it would, because my focus had to shift and I had to balance things, and it was a bit crazy for me during that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got into business. In business, like I mentioned, tourism, tourism. Along that line, I met a client. By the way, during all this time with my spiritual life, I'm in and out. Unajua tu yani, so sometimes I'm hot, sometimes I'm just lukewarm, sometimes I'm hot. But the good thing is that the Bible says when you bring up that child in the ways of the Lord, let me tell you, hata akipotea till which side, atarudi tu. So I will potea sometimes I will really potea and go left kabisa. But God never left me. I will still feel inside. The Spirit still convicted me, and I will still come back. So along my journey in business, I found myself also engaging in another kind of business, because then God, I was still there and God was still there. And the one thing that I like is that the biggest blessing I think I can say as a person, when I now look back and I say, what does it mean when you say we are blessed? When God, what is this good thing that you can say about your spiritual life? Like if someone asks you, Susie, what is this thing you're telling me to get in? What is the biggest takeaway now that you've come and you're professing that you're saved, that you walk with God?
And I'm welcoming people.
You're welcoming people. What are we coming to find? What is your biggest takeaway? So back in the, I used to think many things. I used to think, a good life, financial blessings, a good family, nice living, health, not falling sick. All those things are good and they're nice, right? But for me, that's not it. For me, the biggest thing with my Christian life, and when I say that now I'm connected back to God, is I look back at the Garden of Eden, and this is what should balance us and make and give us a clear picture on this journey that we are on. Something began in the Garden of Eden, and something got broken, and this is the thing that God has been trying to fix. And he managed to fix it through a certain way, which was sending his son. So there was something that broke that needs to be fixed. So if then you accepted the way that God presented to fix it, so what was that got broke in the Garden of Eden? So the biggest thing I see that was there in the Garden of Eden is that Adam had this relationship with God, and he used to walk with him. You know, those are just metaphors to try and show us how close he was with God. You know, even when we hear that he could hear God walking, you know, he'll just, you know, like God was just there with him. Like you're in the same space with God. Like for me, so that's the biggest thing ever when I talk about being saved and connecting back to God. Because once you're walking with God and once you're in step with him, then everything else surely, after you don't even need to worry about it.
True,
you know.
true.
So in that context, even so, this is why I veered off a bit, because I was saying in my work in business, what happened is that I had reconnected back to God, like me, because he's never left me. It is me who keeps on walking in and out. so I had said, I'm done with this thing. I just want to come back and stop playing games. And I came back in, and I'm already beginning this journey with Tumaini. And my God, the things that this condition called Down syndrome came with, wow, I had never imagined anything like this. It was a huge monster, and it needed a lot, and not just my time, but also a lot in finances. This is the other thing that people never understand. When we say that we need financial support, you know, for parents, for families with children with special needs, because there's so many things that cost a lot of money inside there. So here I was, I'm trying to start off a business, I'm struggling. Here is Tumaini, she's coming, and she clearly needs a lot of interventions, which cost a lot of money. And what God did is he brought in a line for me, which I had no clue about. I didn't even know that part of me existed. But I found myself doing human resource consulting. HR. So even me, I'm shocked, just like you, because I was just sitting. I was just sitting, and then this client comes in. I've been servicing this client, and I've been giving them my transport services. And it's a foreign client who comes in. So and they tell me, you know what? We have another need apart from this one that you're giving us. We know your services, and we are very happy with them. But we're coming to set in something new in the country, and we need this thing done. We need a few local employees. We need them set up in an office. We need that whole stream of HR done, you know, because we're new. And you know, HR is different everywhere around the world. It's just like law. So you can't just go and practice law in Tanzania, you know. So they come and tell us, we need a local guy to show us these loops. So I told them, no worry, you've come to the right guy. I will show you. Okay. I will show you who does this thing, because I've always believed I did not I think I did not act like the typical Kenyan, but I can do this thing. No. This is the thing. Even at that point in time in my life, you make me remember, I was sick in hospital, and I had been admitted. I had very bad headaches. All right. So I had been admitted in hospital for like 2.5 weeks. And that's the time, even that they just started after we had that conversation. I went into hospital. And when I was in hospital, I made a phone call, and I told them, the person I was talking to, the client, told them, I had told you I have someone I can get you to do this thing. But when I had presented that proposal to them, they had said, no, we have been working with you for years. We can see what you've been doing. Even when we ask for your services and in big numbers, we see how you manage, you know. And sometimes we don't even just need the cars, we also need the drivers, and we've been seeing what you do. So we think you can do this thing. But I knew HR is not just about that, you know. There's so much more. There's payroll, there's taxing, you know, there's all these things, there are contracts for employment. So I didn't want to bite that thing and say I can do this thing, because I could see that it was going to be a lot. So I said, you know what, I'll be smart. Let me see, how can I make something out of this? Let me get a professional maybe I just get a cut from whatever deal they'll get, and then I just present to them, they offer their services.
Yeah.
So I kept trying to get the client to take up that proposal, but they refused. I told them, in fact, I am in hospital, so I can't even come, and I will not come, and I know you guys are starting, so let me just send the guy I'm proposing. He's a very nice professional. They said, you know what, and this is why I saw God, and they said, you know what, no, you're in hospital. How long? 2 weeks. We will wait. We'll come and continue that conversation. They waited.
Wow.
I went back. Short of it all, I started that consultancy. They engaged me also as a HR consultant. But again, like I say, because I felt like that space was my space of doing business. And sometimes we get lost and we think doing business is just buying something for a certain amount, putting your markup, selling it to the next guy who doesn't know where you bought it from, and then that's it for biashara, and then we say, I'm a businessman, That is the lowest form of thinking you can have to think that you'll make it as a business person. Okay. So I realized there are very many things that will come into play. And I had realized over the years in my life, I was not this professional who, and I respect this, but I respect professionals, doctors, lawyers, accountants, I respect them. But that is not my lane, and I realized from very early on, that's not my lane, My lane is where I am not stuck in one place, in one lane, sticking, just doing this one thing. And so I realized, you know what, in entrepreneurship, it also means what? That I can still make money out of engaging the professionals. And in fact, I make more money when I engage the professionals. So when I get an accountant for my firm, when it is small, I realize that I cannot afford an accountant. So I just use him at the end of the month, And as I grow, then I grow with him. And then once I can be able to get him into the company, I absorb him into the company, and I get a professional. Going forward, I'll need a manager. You engage a professional. That's what business is about. And those are lessons that I learned along life. And so I realized, okay, even this HR thing, you know what, it can be done. I don't have to lie, I am one, but I can engage it and I can make it happen. So I got a professional, partnered with him, absorbed him into my company, told him this is a new branch you are venturing into, let's do consulting. Who else do you need to employ? Professionals. We employed, and we did that thing for the next 9 years with that one company. And guess what? That now falls in line with Tumaini. God was waiting at that juncture when Tumaini would just come in, and he had already foreseen, and he knew I will need resources. And those resources just fell into place. And for the next 9 years, I can say God took care of it. Because now there were resources coming in to help out with where I was. And this goes just to say that God sees, God knows everything. He sees everything we do, And just to encourage a few of the parents that we are walking this journey with, and especially the Christians, especially the born again ones, because I in my advocacy for disability inclusion, there's a department that I'm also involved with, which is called psychosocial support for parents. So, and like I told you, leo niko hapa nawakilisha the fathers specifically. And so what I do is there are support systems to support the parents to these children, which means psychosocial support, mental capacity, mental stamina, that kind of thing. So we don't just meet with both parents. So I specifically meet with the fathers because they have different challenges, which are very just special just because they're fathers. So I meet with the fathers, and that's what I do. So I was about to encourage these fathers and tell them that God knows, God knew, and especially the Christians. I want to tell my brothers that even the Bible itself tells us that it rains on both the just and the unjust. It doesn't mean now because we were born again, now we had been plucked out of this world, and now we are already in heaven. We're not in heaven. That's why we're told we are not of this world. but we are in this world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are born again, but we're still in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And remember what I told you at the Garden of Eden? Something was broken.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole system was broken of what God created. And that's what we say, things fell. So whole creation fell.
Mm-hmm.
So because we're still living in a fallen world,
Mm-hmm.
that's why we experience sickness, we experience all this disharmony, we experience all these weather patterns that are not conducive. You know, that's why death found us, you know. That's why we have all these disorders and sicknesses, you know. So we're still walking in that world. And because we are walking in that world, we will, these things, we will rub shoulder, we'll brush shoulders with them. And we will end up in situations that are not very pleasant because we are walking in that world.
Yeah.
But for these parents, I just want to tell them that God tells us, like I told you, the biggest thing that makes perfect sense for me is that now that I'm back in God, He's walking with me. We are back in that relationship. He's always with me. You know, you got to happen next to me. And so even in this journey of being a parent to a child with special needs, God is there with you.
Wow.
God is there with you.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
So even if it is a tough one, but he reminds us in Psalms through David, and he tells us, though I walk through the valley, you know,
Darkness.
yeah, he's there with us. So the valley is there and he's walking with us, you know.
Yeah.
He also still tells the Israelites in Isaiah, and he tells them, listen, I will make a way in the desert place. I am making a way in the desert place. The desert place is not a nice place. It's a hard place. It's a worst place. You don't want to find yourself there. He says he'll make a way there. And then he says he will give them springs of water in the barren land. The barren land is still the worst of the worst place you want to be in.
Barren. So barren, you may know, is like a desert. Hakuna kitu kinamea, nothing. Completely gone. Imeenda na maji and it's not coming back. So Sarah was barren.
So that is God assuring us, you will walk through these things, but guess what? I'll be with you. And if I'm with you, everything's sorted.
Amen.
Yeah.
Come on, you're preaching.
So today I'm not here for any sympathy for parents with special needs. No, we're on top of things because God is there and he's walking with us. Yeah, it's a tough place to be in, but with God we can make it. Okay. I don't say that we want to assume and say there's no hard situation that is going on with us. It is there, but God is there even bigger than that thing. All right. So this is the journey that I've been walking.
Okay.
So I finished. So I did that. I've been running my outfit since you asked me about me. Let me just sum it up. We finished. So I did that. So a couple of years, 5 years ago, let me say 6 years ago, I have been feeling this tug in my heart ever since I got to Tumaini. So Tumaini is 15 years. So it means 15 years ago, I started feeling this tug in my heart that God is also calling me into this other place of advocacy for inclusion and just being a voice to the people. But I kept running away from it, pushing it away, not sure, you know, maybe just thinking it's just my feelings since now I have Tumaini, you know. So, but slowly by slowly it has been assured. And so slowly I took this outfit of business and put it as number 2, and now I front the one for advocacy in inclusion. So that's where I am today, and that's what I do today. And I'm trying to increase capacity in just trying to be able to assist and work with the fellow fathers, fellow heroes out there. There are heroes, parents outside there, let me tell you. I've been in that space and I'm like, God, if you knew what people are going through and they're still standing strong, they encourage me. I think I'm there to encourage, and then I come out and encourage them. So that's part of David. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
I was trying not to bring into my indie, but she kept on just budging in.
she had to.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so deep. That is so deep. Now I know we are already into it because you have really touched into Tumaini, but I want us now to get deeper into it and to understand more of this. And maybe first to understand now, how did you come to get your first born child who is having that special need? Maybe you take us the journey of maybe did you plan to have a child? How did she come to be?
Yeah. Wow. That's a close one to my heart. I want to answer that and rope everyone else into my journey and my experience by first sharing a short poem. So there's this parent in America decades ago. So her name is Emily. She's called Emily Kingsley. Emily Kingsley is an American writer. Okay. And she also happened to have a child with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
This is way back. She got her son with Down syndrome back in 1974. And in 1987, she penned this poem. And this poem for me has been the best reflection and the best summary of how I ended up and found myself in this space with this child with a special need. And it goes like this. It says there's this person who's planning to go on holiday. So I'm just paraphrasing the poem. So it's about a person who's planning to go on holiday.
Yeah.
And they make all the arrangements. And the holiday destination is in Italy. One of the best holiday destinations, I tell you. From the Pope to... let me tell you. So the destination is Italy. And they made all the necessary plans. And you know, if you want to enjoy a perfect holiday, some of the things you do, especially if you live in the country, is you want to know how to say hello, thank you, you know. So you start, you know, if you're going to Paris, I mean, you find that Kikuyu starting now to do French or saying bonjour, you know, and all those things. So you want to, so you get to know just a bit of the language so that you're not very stuck. So you're going to Italy, so you get to know a bit of it. You get a dictionary, maybe like a small one for tourists, just to know how to ask things. Maybe you also buy some, you check into their culture, kidogo, so that you know how is their culture there. So when you land, you can fit in nicely. You find out what the weather is, definitely, if you're going to a new place, so that then the wardrobe you carry, see, you don't land there with beach shorts and you're landing in Russia and there's snow, you know. So you carry appropriate clothing, you do all these things. So the day comes, it's been months of planning. So the day comes, you check into the plane, you take off, and you're off on your holiday destination for your life, about to tick off a very big box from your life, right? You're so excited, you can't wait to get there. The plane touches down, you land at the airport. The same thing the stewardess does. She comes, she starts, she makes this announcement that we've touched down. And you can't believe your ears because you didn't hear Italy. You hear, we have landed, but we're in Holland. So you're like, what? Excuse me, I signed up for Italy. You know, this must be... she tells you, no. We know, but we're in Holland. Something happened, it could not... it was out of our hands. We're in Holland now, and no one is flying out of Holland. So everyone, this is Holland, Karibuni. Please disembark from the plane. So you disembark from the plane, and you're wondering, your whole year, almost, you've been planning for this trip. You're thinking about your wardrobe you've carried in your suitcase, and you're in Holland, and you're going to Italy. You're thinking, these new words that I learned, and you're like, my dream, God, shattered. You cannot even be helped. You are beyond. If you're a crazy Kenyan making noise there at the airport, I'm assuming, like crazy. So you get into Holland with your things, and for the first few days, you're so confused. You don't even know what to do. You can't even change your clothes, right? Because then you'll probably need to buy more. So slowly by slowly, you understand, you know what? I'm not going anywhere. I'm in Holland, you know, and no one is flying out. So the best thing to do is what? Let me just try and find out what Holland is about, right? And as much as Italy is a place to be, because, I mean, it has all these highlights, you know, from the Colosseum, you know, from the Roman culture, you know, there's so many things to see there. And then you're in Holland. I mean, who goes to Holland for holiday? Surely, I've never even had anyone going to Holland. you know. So you say, let me venture out into the streets, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see what is there. So you go out, and slowly by slowly you come to understand. Okay, even if there's not so much hype about Holland, like Italy, there's still nice things here, you know. These guys also maybe have a circus. They have something else to see, but it's just not as loud. But guess what? Everyone else who is calling you and who is in your life, they all had that same tick to tick on Italy. And some of them made it there. Okay? Some of them are still looking to go there. And the ones who made it there, they can't help but they will not give you any room, but know how Italy was. You know, they're always talking about Italy and the things you wanted to go and see. And they're your friends and they're your family, you know, and you can't help it because now this is your community. So slowly by slowly you find out, even Holland is not so bad, but even the pace here is a bit slow. It's not as fast as Italy. You know, life here is slow. People do things a little different. There are certain plants here that are not in other places. And this sums up that journey so well for me because we took off with my wife trying into this journey of trying to get a child. And for 9 months, we are looking for Italy and we can't wait for Italy, you know. And on the delivery date, when the child is coming, is when the doctor tells you, hey, boss, you guys are in Holland. There's no Italy for you guys. Your child has Down syndrome. So we were busy painting the bedroom. We were busy planning for school. We were busy already had made plans on when we're going to get the next child because this one should take this number of years up to here. So what happens to all our dreams of Italy? What happens to our dream of that typical child? You know, that is how you feel when you get a child with a special need. You've been expecting something totally different and you get a totally different dream. And the truth of the matter is this. You will never, your brain will never stop reminding you of that dream of Italy. It will never. Like your entire life, you will be remembering, I was meant to go to Italy, but you're in Holland. You have this child with special needs. And guess who is helping that brain? Your friends, your family. They're always reminding you, hey, my child is in grade 2. Hey, yours is in, hey, you know, we passed, hey, you know, come for birthday party, come for graduation. All this is Italy, you know, and they're always reminding you, this is where you're meant to be, you know. And here you are stuck in Holland. Guys are moving at like 5 kilometers per hour, you know, the pace is different, everything is different, and you have to relearn everything. But the biggest thing is you have to let go of that dream. You have to let go of the dream of Italy because sooner or later you realize that the more you cling to that dream, the more it steals your present day to day where you're in Holland. So it steals the joys of what Holland brings, of what Down syndrome also brings, because even Down syndrome brings, has color, you know, and it has nice places to go into. It is not as fast as Italy. It is not as fast as all the others. We don't hit those developmental milestones at the same time, but it still has its own wins, you know. And the other day, my friend, this is now very personal. My friend is going through a very hard season right now. And she penned something on social media, which really got me. And she said this one line. She said that I have realized that it is so much better, so much better to choose to live in the unknown present, which is today, than to get stuck living in the known past. What that shortly means is that it is better to live in this unknown today, because Down syndrome, special needs, disabilities is an unknown territory. We have a few things in place that we can say this is what we expect, this is what happens, but you're learning new things every day. Your emotions are on a roller coaster every day. You're breaking down every day. You're thinking, you put yourself together, but it's just a place of an unknown place. So it is better to live in that unknown place today than to get stuck in the known past, which is the child already came. Okay, we know it is Down syndrome. Yeah. Okay, you're supposed to have gone somewhere else. Sour. You're supposed to get a typical child. You didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the fact. This is what you got. This is what God gave you. All right. So if you choose to live there and keep on just lamenting and pushing yourself down, and you can get stuck. You can choose to get stuck there. And by the way, that is the easier way to go. Because, I mean, humanly speaking, that's just the place you'll find yourself in.
Yeah.
So you're there, you're stuck, you're wrestling with God, you're wrestling with people. You know, you're just not okay.
Yeah.
So you can choose to stay there, but that robs you of the joys of living today.
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
So that's very key for parents to realize. And the thing that parents need to do, parents with special needs, with children with special needs, is to realize that the longer you stay stuck in that place, it does not just stop your life moving forward. Guess who else's life is stopped? Your child's life. Because as a parent, you're the primary caregiver of that child.
Yeah.
And in other words, I say, you're also the advocate for that child.
Yeah.
And in a bigger term, you're the gatekeeper of that child. So whatever mitigations, whatever interventions will come towards this child to help them along this journey, you know, they all have to pass through you as a parent.
Yeah.
So if you block them, they won't get to the child.
True.
Whatever you allow is what will get to the child. So the more you get stuck, it means that you will not be allowing anything because you've not started the journey of supporting the child.
Yeah.
So the child also gets stuck. So if you choose, you'll get stuck for 5 years or 4 years or 10 years. You're killing 10 years of that child.
Yeah.
So that's a very weighty thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something that should motivate parents to get up quickly and get up on their feet and let's go on. Let's find out what Holland is about.
Really, you realize in Holland, then we have to live here.
Let's do this thing.
For you.
You burn those clothes that you had bought for Italy.
You can as well give those who are going to
give
Italy.
them away, send them their boxes. Let's get the ones that are for Holland, and you get along with it. So that's in a nutshell.
In the whole part of pregnancy, there's nowhere you knew what you are expecting.
No.
There were no.
Yes. Now in the with Down syndrome, it's a disorder. I'll break down what it is just after this. So there's no way. It was 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, things were not the same as today in terms of even science and medical advancements and things. So 15 years after, there are many things that I say a parent today enjoys a lot, you know, that we didn't have back then. So one of those things is testing to find out. But even that testing is very elusive because the only way you can find out if a child has Down syndrome is if a test is done. When it comes to picking up a child with special needs during pregnancy, it is almost impossible. Okay. Why? Because the test that is needed to be done to find out is very intrusive. And it is also very costly. And whoever thinks that you have a child with special needs, who is ever brought up thinking at 50-50 wacha ni expect nitakuwa na mtoto ati disabilities? No one does. Everyone is headed to Italy, my friend. Kila mtu amepack bags tunaenda Italy.
The struggle is to get the If you get a pregnancy,
sasa twende.
Tuko kwa dege.
Yeah, and just because we are touching on my journey. Anyway, so that test is the one that can foretell during the pregnancy. Yeah. But again, it's not also recommended because it can also interfere with the fetus. Yeah. Because the needle has to go in and take a sample, think of the amniotic fluid. So guess how, it's so intrusive. So they come out and then go and do a genetic test maybe and see what it's about. Yeah. But you'll understand what that is about when I break down the disorder itself. Yeah. So that's the only way to find out during pregnancy. But normally what happens like we did is we found out 95% of us find out at that moment when the child comes out. Okay. Why do we find out then? Because so Down syndrome is a genetic disorder. Okay, let's start there. What's the cause of Down syndrome? Down syndrome is caused by so take it back to school, kidogo. But I'll try not to be so. Let me be the parent. Let me not be a medic, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that during fertilization, so that you can get a zygote. A zygote is when the sperm and the egg come together, and then they form the zygote. So the sperm itself and the egg, those are two reproductive cells. Okay, these are one of the smallest cells in the body. So during the formation of these cells, when they are still a sperm and an egg, during that part there, there's a process called meiosis. So meiosis is the production of those cells, reproductive cells only. So we say during meiosis, because that's when they break down and then they form, they become many. During that process, something goes off. That's why it's called a disorder. So something doesn't follow the order.
Yeah.
So a disorder happens there. And then what happens is that because the normal, what we call the foundation stone, the blueprint of a human being, which we know, we talk in terms of chromosomes, right?
Yeah.
So we have 23 pairs of chromosomes are what make up a human being, right? So those 23 pairs, meaning there are 2 each, right? So there's a 23 pairs, meaning in total there are 46, because there are 2 in each. So what happens with Down syndrome is that now instead of being in the 21st pair, because there are 23 pairs, right? In the 21st pair, you get, instead of getting a pair, you get 3 of them. So you get tri. So you get 3 chromosomes in that pair instead of 2.
2. Yeah.
You follow? So when you get them there, and this is all happening within the sperm cell or the egg cell, right? So when now you come together and the zygote is formed, so now what happens is one of the causes of Down syndrome is in that 21st pair, which now is 3 of them, it now replicates. Now you can imagine, because now the zygote comes and then forms and then starts, because now the next process is called meiosis, which people know, which is now the zygote now starting, cells now start just developing into a child, right?
Yeah.
Now when that starts happening, now you can imagine, because at the foundation, the 23rd had 3. So it means kama ilianza foundation hivyo, and that is what is being used to replicate, all the cells in your body will have 3 in that pair. So you can imagine you have 3 chromosomes in the 21st pair throughout your body, from your hair to your toe. So it starts off as a very small detour, but then goes into your entire cells in your body.
Yeah.
So you can see how significant that is. And when that goes in, then it interferes with how many things are formed, because then the blueprint is wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is 95% is caused by that, and because it is the 21st pair, that's why it's called trisomy 3. It's called trisomy 21 because it's that 21 pair. So you'll hear Down syndrome. Sometimes it's referred to as trisomy 21.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's 95%. But there's another process that also leads to Down syndrome, but another type. Now this is that first type, 95%, is called trisomy 21. The second type of Down syndrome is called translocation. So translocation just means a part of the chromosome leaves that chromosome and interchanges with another part of another one. So they switch, so they translocate. So it's called translocation. Okay. So in translocation is where sometimes you hear you can pass it down, through hereditary. So that's the translocation one we say, but that's only like 3% of cases of Down syndrome that you get translocation. So it's very rare. And the last type of Down syndrome is called mosaic, which means instead of the whole body having the 21st that I told you, the 21st chromosome has 3, only part of, so it's not the whole body, just part of it part of the cells have the 21st chromosome having 3. So that's why it's called mosaic. So it's like a mosaic. So part of you have those cells, others don't. Those are the 3 types of Down syndrome. So coming now to because you had asked me about how do you know. So some of the telltale signs for a child with Down syndrome, So when the child is born, because of that disorder that happened, and because of all this extra chromosome coming in to interfere with how every organ, every other thing is playing out, so then it now has conditions or medical conditions and also physical traits that show. So some of those things which you can clearly see from the very first minute the child is born is you'll see the child has like a roundish head and chubby cheeks, and you'll see that they have very small ears which are low set. Okay, I know as I go on, you'll remember, and you'll now start bringing into mind some people you've seen outside. So they have small ears which are low set, and then their eyes are like squinted and slanting upwards, which sometimes we call Chinese eyes. So those children have like Chinese eyes, and then their ridge for the nose is flat. Okay, it's not protruding like ours, so it's very flat. They have very rounded cheeks and chubby ones, and then most of them have their tongue sticking out. Right? So now you can already start associating some of the children you've seen, or even grown-ups. So going on, so those are some of the things you can clearly see even when a child is just born. Okay, and they have the tongue sticks out because the other thing is that their mouth cavity is smaller than ours. And that is why the tongue has no space inside, so it sticks outside. So these are the telltale signs you can just tell even if you meet someone and you know this is Down syndrome. And even now going down more, you can see one of the critical and most serious conditions is the heart conditions. So they have heart conditions which they are born with. So they're called congenital heart diseases. And for Down syndrome, mostly that is what you hear people saying, the child has a hole in the heart. I'm sure you heard this term. So these are Down syndrome children. So like 70% of them come out with that condition, and they have holes in the heart. So even Tumaini had like 3 holes when she was born. Okay. And what you do is you're set to do surgery as soon as you can, to try and fix that. So most of these children actually undergo open heart surgeries to try and fix them, because you need to fix them very early. But there's a small chance that given time, some of those holes heal and they just close up. And thank God that was one of Tumaini's blessings. So she didn't go through it. So a heart condition is one of them also. Another very big telltale sign. Now this is not just a child. When the child is growing, is what I mentioned, and I told you, intellectual disabilities. So intellectual disabilities is a big one. So Down syndrome is one of the most common causes of intellectual disability. Okay, so that's just about, you understand what that means, because even academically it becomes hard to, then that's what I was saying, they have their own lane. All right. So intellectual disabilities is a big one. That's one of the biggest challenges. Going on, you have their hands. You can tell they have short fingers and chubby ones. And instead of having these creases, you'll just find they only have one. Okay. And they have small, short arms too, short fingers. So these are things you can just look if you know, and you can tell. So even when the child is being born, you can just check and see. Medically, apart from the heart condition, it also comes with the gut problems. And that's when you hear about this thing, guys talk about gluten. So they are very sensitive to gluten products, because it can really cause problems with their guts, right? And then we also have something called celiac disease, which comes with that, because if you don't check the gluten, it can really mess up the child. I think those are just some of the things you can look and know, and medical conditions you can see and be able to point out Down syndrome. Okay. So now you can see how I knew. So the first time we went in, we had been married we got married. And my life plan, my typical life plan, was we go on honeymoon for 1 year. We just enjoy each other, no children, to extend the honeymoon for 1 year. After 1 year, we'll start getting children. Okay? Apart from the 2 weeks honeymoon we went for, we said we're going to have it for another year. So we came back. We said, here's our year is over. Tufunge honeymoon. Let's get pregnant. Oh my goodness. Why are you laughing? Wewe uko na mpango ya nini?
People normally say, we have time to enjoy life, but I like the way you are so sincere. We enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, what do you mean, enjoy life? That is just wanaficha tu kusema they're enjoying each other. Because life is being enjoyed either way. Sasa. So
Alright,
anyway,
so
the 1 year honeymoon was done. So we said, nice time, because we had a timeline. When we want to get the firstborn and we want to get the second one, when school is going to end. We all have these things in our heads. And then unaangalia high school itaisha lini, you know, unapanga panga, unaona, how will I be? If you are a slightly responsible human being, you should be having these thoughts. So we had kind of that compass. So our year is done. We try getting pregnant. First 3 months, nothing is happening. First 6 months, no pregnancy.
Okay.
Hey, what's going on? All right. Okay, maybe the method we were using before, maybe it needs more time to clear the system. So let's, 1 year-ish, nothing has come through. We run to the doctors, say, hey, what's going on? So I get checked, she gets checked. I am okay, she's fine. I mean, she's in her 20s. I'm in my upper 20s, so we're still young. And we're still okay, and nothing shows up. So we're told, hey guys, go back home, just try. You know, so we go, we try, nothing is happening. So now, now I'm getting this real scare of, hey, I'm an African man, but what's happening? You know, I cannot be what is this thing, infertility? No, it can't happen. But it's playing at the back of my head. Okay, but again, I'm still just wanting to believe. Maybe it's just timing, maybe something will happen, you know. So the second year we try getting pregnant, we hit a few bumps. So which were, they were hot and cold. Because it was hot, it was nice, because we saw, kumbe something can work. But it was not very nice, it was cold, because then we had miscarriage. We had 2 miscarriages, and we had 1 blighted ovum. I know you understand. When you're such a professor, so you will break those down. What is this? Yani, this life is not fair. Yani, in my whole life, I was not even taught that kunaweza kuwa na nothing. You know, yani, life is not even fair. At least even the curricula should be changed. What uambiwe, saa ingine kuna kuwaga na hewa. So when you meet the anyway, let's carry on.
Wow. Okay.
So these are things, by the way, which bother me today. When I look back and I say, it's been how many years? Who is leading this country and this department? They can't just have sensitization within the curricula. Ile tu brush over. So that you brush over a blighted ovum, miscarriage, even disabilities. Just brush over that there is Down syndrome. This is what it is. There's autism. You know, there's CP. Like, how many years is it now? And it's not even rocket science, and no one has even tried to kuingiza hapo kwa curriculum.
We are still learning it so perfectly in biology. It is so perfect how a man and a woman meet, the egg and the sperm meet, and a baby 9 months. Italy. They show it like it always happens so well.
Yeah. We are all getting to Italy perfectly well. There's no country called Holland. Lakini unajipata Holland. So this is a big nini for me, that I also now in my advocacy, we also try to push the government some of those things. So we'll touch on those. So now journey, so that's what happened. So we got miscarriages, we got a blighted ovum. Eventually she got pregnant.
I'm much interested in this particular this part of fighting infertility. Of course, my guys, you know, when we talk infertility, I will pause and first of all listen to that. I'm trying to imagine your mind as a man. First of all, when she's not conceiving, how fast were you to think that you could also be the problem, that you need to go for testing?
Now you have put me on the spot, because now I've already told guys I'm born again. So I have to just say the truth, because that God I said he's here with me.
Kabisa.
To be honest, that did not even feature in my mind, that I could be the problem. But in hindsight, I look and I see it's the way I had been conditioned. In my upbringing, we are never ever even given the slightest idea that the man can be the problem. It is always the woman. I do not know why, but when I look back, I see, wow, that's how I was conditioned to think.
Society thinks that women actually are more affected, but that is not the case. But unfortunately, let me tell the men who are here with us, hello, gentlemen, hello, about 40% of the cases of infertility, or rather of the causes of infertility, are actually related to men. So we are the bigger cause of infertility. Women account for about 35% of the causes of infertility. And then men and women account for about 25-30%. And then there is a small percentage where we actually sort of can't put our fingers on what the real reason is. So it is a myth that women are affected more with infertility. It's men who are affected more. Yes.
So it was at the very tail end that I started now thinking that maybe when I visited now the doctor, and now they brought in that angle of, na vile alileta pia si ati nilichukua vizuri sana. Karibu hata nimwambie, you know I'm paying you. So I did not receive it very well, I have to say the truth. And that is regrettable. No, it's not fair at all to always assume that the woman could be the problem. Because like I told you, I mean, it takes a sperm and an egg. So the sperm could also have a problem as much as the egg can have the problem, or any other organ in the woman can have, right? So I confess, nilimbebesha mzigo, and for a long time, even the people around me, no one hinted that I could be the problem. Mimi,
I cannot. What is happening?
I am an African man. What is bibi analeta jam? Fungua jam.
What is happening with your wife?
No, it is actually not. We need a lot of awareness on that. I think.
You confess it was difficult for you to imagine, or you need to go and do the test.
No, it was disturbing. It was very, very hard. And for the African man, hata kufikiria kufanya hizo test, just even being seen walking into a fertility institution, you already umechoma. Umebad. So now, how they're not making it easy for the African man. It's very hard even to just even reach out to these things. And then even what setting are you going to start discussing this thing in society? Who are you going to talk these things with? And the African man is always just laid back. These things we don't talk about them. Vitu za nyumba za mama ndio zikiharibika pia za mama.
I know.
So that is a big misconception.
And now worst, I imagine, I thank God that you have children now, so we are talking. I know, maybe probably that's why even the courage now.
Yeah, maybe sure. Hey, ndio imekuja sasa.
To talk about it, but imagine worst when now a man now gets to that level, and now the tests are done, and you're told, unfortunately, these are blanks that are being shot here, and you see, like now the doctor, we had a doctor here, a fertility expert, who was telling us, a man ejaculating doesn't mean they are fertile. So sometimes now coming to that reality and realizing that's true. I have been thinking I'm a man because I'm doing it. Yes, I'm getting to Italy. I mean, Italy for today. And then you're told it's not working.
Yeah, you're in Holland, my brother.
Then now when it comes, now you are succeeding and you're having miscarriage. How is that for a man? Because most of the time we want to feel like in fact, I had a lady who was saying that she felt the husband is not supportive, is not feeling her pain. Do you as a man feel the pain when the woman is going through miscarriage?
I must say that's because I can only speak for myself and my journey. Though I cannot look away and see what typically is happening, because typically the typical man is not there for the woman. The typical African man is not there for the woman. And I keep on bringing this African word in because I'm trying to bring out and highlight something called culture. And culture is the genesis of a monster called myths and misconceptions. And these things are so ingrained in our systems that we have no clue even how deep they go.
And they give birth to bad stigma. I
tell you, that is just the craziest thing. So for me personally, I think just the way I've been raised up, I think I must say, I was a bit ahead of myself because I was there. I tried stepping in, and I've always tried stepping in, just to be in the space of my wife and to see what she's going through. And again, it ends up being a very lonely journey, even that infertility journey, together with the disability one.
Yeah.
because you usually find yourself alone.
Okay.
I don't know how yours was, but you see, because I don't have people I can converse this topic with, so hata saa ya kwenda maybe hospitali, they don't even know you went.
Yeah.
You know, if you get any diagnosis that nobody knows, you don't share it with the family. And because you don't do these things, then you're alone in that journey.
Yeah.
And you find yourself alone. So when we found ourselves, and I saw it was just the two of us, I must say, I must confess, here is where I leave my fellow men uko kando. Na niseme, I think she can very confidently say that I was there for her. Though I have come to learn that however much I try to be there for you as my wife, I can never truly be there the way, satisfactorily, the way you want me to be. You know, so I can only do my best. Okay, but I know the person who walks that journey and carries that weight, you know, like totally, is the woman, and I appreciate that. And even if we try to bring terms like our pregnancy, you know, we are pregnant, they are nice inclusive terms to try and include both of us in this weight. Like I appreciate, we still appreciate at the end of the day that you're actually bearing the brunt of it.
True.
And most of it is there. And I think this is what men need to realize, that the women are really carrying a lot of these weights, you know. So the least we can do, even if we will not hit the jackpot, let us just do our best to try and show them that we're there. If you don't know what to say, you don't have to say anything. Just your presence is enough. Just be there. Just show up. You know, things, it's almost like I don't know, like I don't even have a right term for it. Like an African man should never be seen anywhere near a clinic for pregnant women. You know, I mean, who said that? You know, and by the way, you attending clinic with your wife, especially in my space for children with disabilities, is one of the most critical things a father can do to intervene and to know what to do about the child, and to put in interventions at the right time, and to even pick up things that the wife might not catch up on. You know, so you being the African man, you think when ni mwanaume hautaenda hospitali, my friend, hiyo mzigo will be even behavior for you, because maybe even some things the wife might mean. You know, two heads are better than one.
True.
You know, So yes, so I will say I was there for my wife, but I also confess that I know, because at some places I ask her just to be open with me and just to try and nijaribu tu sita judge. Unajua, aseme tu, and sometimes she tells me, yes, you're there, but truly it's a lonely place, because at the end of the day, it's a woman who's in there.
I can imagine. So now the baby is here. We have just gotten this news that we were not ready for. We didn't expect this. How will you take that? How will it?
Oh my goodness. I recall that day like it was yesterday. Because we went in, my wife got a C-section. So as she was recovering, I got to see the baby first. Because she went in to recover, baby, you know, is rushed to the nursery. So I go with the baby. So she didn't get to see the baby first. So in the nursery, I am there looking at my child. I'm thinking, wow, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Even with all these features, you know, because she has small ears, she has this Chinese eyes, and I'm thinking, wow, my wife had some lineage of Chinese. What's going on? But I like them. You know, they're not like bad. So I'm like, hey, nice, cute baby. So this nurse who's just passing by happens to, she's just tucking in the baby and doing things. As a by the way, she just says, hey, by the way, loosely, you know, with no feelings, nothing. She just blurts out and says, hey, by the way, mtoto anakaa yuko na Down syndrome. Okay. Up to this point in my life, I had no clue what Down syndrome is. Clearly, it was not in the curricula. Clearly, no one else in the family has it, so I have no clue. My friends, no one has it, so I have no clue. The way she said it, even if I did not know what it was, the way it came out, I definitely, you know, you can know when something is good or bad. So I knew it is a bad thing. So I was taken aback. I was shocked. I was like, what is this thing I don't even know? You know, so I'm like, but I'm looking at my child and I'm looking at her. How can she tell? She hasn't tested anything. So she just looked and said something. So I look back at the child to try and pick up what is this she saw that I'm missing. And there's nothing. You know, like to me, the child is just perfect, you know. And I'm wondering, so this thing is killing me. So she's done, she said, and she's walked away.
Okay.
I mean, you watch Apple. Me, I'm in shock,
She
I'm
didn't
frozen.
care to even explain what that means.
No. Now, this is the first thing this is the first place we collide with medical world. But that was 15 years ago. So let me just cut them some slack. Because I will say today, a parent who is, parents who are being blessed with these children with special needs are not received the same way. I mean, even not just them. Even, I mean, my dad passed away a few years ago. And I must say that even the way that news was broken to us, I was shocked. I was like, even hospitals nowadays, they have a department called guidance and counseling. So even the doctor doesn't tell you. You're just told, please go report to this department. Then you meet trained counselors who take you through the process nicely, you know. And so that's a really nice soft landing, you know, and they know how to. But now, this is 15 years ago. I think even the medical industry had no clue that we have room for counseling. Counseling maybe in out to a bank. You know, they didn't even know here we're coming to do. So this nurse just blurts out, goes. The doctor, so I'm waiting for the doctor. So I wait for the doctor. Now I can't even go and break the news to my wife because I'm confused. I don't know what do I tell her. That I was told a bad word, but I need to confirm first. So I go to the doctor. The doctor is not in. Because now you see these doctors also, they don't sit there. So you have to wait for the next time they show up. So unfortunately, so I just had to go share with my wife. Because now, clearly, if the nurse blurted out that thing there, another one will blurt out something to her. So I better tell her before she's told. So I tell her, but we're still confused. So the next time we get to sit down with the doctor, it was not any better than the experience with the nurse. Because what the doctor had for us was a very long list of all the things we missed in Italy.
Oh, no.
Okay. What about Holland? What's happening? What about Down syndrome? Okay, here's another list of what in Holland. The negative things in Holland. There's no sun here. People move slower here. You'll have developmental challenges forever. In fact, she'll probably never amount to much. That's what we're getting from the doctor. So shortly to say, I was crushed. I was angry. And I was angry at God. I was so angry, man. I remember that time. And I don't like walking that path again. Because that time I felt so helpless. Because I had no clue how to help. You know, this is a man. So there are things that show up, but if you have a clue on what to do, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Lakini saa ile how you are helpless, yani you feel like, man, it kills you. So I was very mad. I was very angry. I was very confused. I was crushed inside. And I remember driving my wife and the child from hospital when we were discharged. And I couldn't, I was wondering whether it's a windscreen that is misty or it's my eyes. Because I couldn't see where I was driving, because it was so hard. I'm trying to be the man, and I'm trying to stand and be strong for my wife. But inside, I'm crushed. I'm gone, you know? But you just have to lead. And this is the thing I say, you still want to lead when you're bleeding. You know? I still have to take that. But it was killing me. So that was my experience. That was our experience. But now, that was me. So when I say my wife was like 100 times worse than me, she was doing really badly. And I can, if you just look back and you see the miscarriages, then you see the blighted ovum.
Yeah.
And then before that, then you see the pressure of infertility that comes from society and family especially. So there's that pressure I was already building. Then there's the pressure of miscarriages and all these things. And then there's this, finally, everything is proven wrong. God has given us a child. And then you get a child with a disability. So that got her into a rabbit hole. I was just winding down and down and down. And now in hindsight, when I look back, is when I can say, then I didn't know what I know now. I know, so I knew nothing, and I was so confused. And even I was wondering, what's wrong with this mama? This is her child, Why is she acting like this? Why is she? But I got to realize that she got so depressed. And she even got to the point of being clinically depressed. Like it was that bad for her. So what that meant for me is I had to stand in for my family, even as I was bleeding, even I was trying to understand this thing. And it was an uphill task, and I have no people to share with. And remember, now the few consultancies that we had to go and see the doctor after that, we still didn't pull anyone along because we still kept it to ourselves, because we're still trying to understand it, and we're still trying to get our balance. So even we didn't share it with family, we didn't share it with friends. So it was lonely, very lonely inside there.
You didn't entertain people coming to visit you in hospital when she was born?
The emotional state that you're in, that I was in, let me say mine.
Yeah.
You're just angry 24/7. You want someone to talk about it with you, but you still don't want someone to talk about it with you. The emotions are all over.
Yeah.
You don't want someone to touch on it. Immediately someone touches on it, is like they're opening a wound. And when there's no one to talk about it, you feel like, okay,
why can't I have someone?
So it's a very dark place to be in. So I just did what I knew, what I could do then. So I carried my family where I could. I can say my family went really down. She got so depressed. It got so bad to the point where, and she's good with this. She knows I share this story, and now we are okay. And she understands that it was also depression, because she got to a place where she didn't want to see the child. Her whole system was repelling the child, and initially, because then I had no clue, that also brought up a lot of resentment from me as a father. So you can imagine watching your child and how your wife is responding to the child, and what that does to me and to our relationship. So that just took also the relationship into another rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And society didn't help me, because they're like, is that what your wife is doing? What are you still doing there? Why are you wasting time? Oh my goodness. It wasn't a nice season in life. So she got into that. I even got to realize, kumbe there are things even called, there's someone who's called a lactation consultant. What? There's someone who helps women breastfeed. What? It was Holland for me. Like I had no clue on things. I'm just learning left, right, center. And she tells me, you know what? Two things happen. One, I shared with you and I told you the cavity for the mouth for these children is smaller. And another thing I didn't point out is to tell you that generally their muscles, their whole body, they have very low muscle tone. So they are usually referred to like rag dolls, because when they're small, they're like spaghetti. And then they're very tiny. So all the muscles in the body, every muscle you can think about. So even the cheek has muscles, and that's what helps the child breastfeed. You know that, right? So the lactation told me, number one, that is already a challenge, that the child cannot suckle. Number two, the mother is also into clinical depression. Her system is not even producing milk.